Hey everyone, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I am McKinley412, and today we're going to be looking at this Sunday main slate. Now, this main slate locks at noon. It's the first day of NFL regular season, so I'm assuming that DK and maybe the MLB didn't really want to line up with that lock time. So there is only one game. At 12:10 is the Tampa Bay Detroit game, but still it is a different lock time today, so make sure you get your lineups in early. Pay attention to the weather. I know there's some storms going around the country right now, so make sure you're paying attention to that. Any COVID related news, and yeah, we'll just dive right into this. A lot of decent pitching options right up here at the top. McCullers, he's the most expensive. I'm not saying he's my favorite guy though. He's going up against the Angels. You know, they have been striking out a lot more lately. But McCullers, I think he's in a nice matchup. He's been having some solid form here. He's just a fine play. He has been facing Seattle 5 million times this season. As you can see, he did face the Angels about a month ago. Did pretty well, put up 20 DK points. You want a little bit more for a guy who you're paying 10.1K for. I'm looking for around more like 25, but still, McCullers, he's more than capable of doing that. I think he's a fine play. Lance Lynn, going up against Boston. Lynn might be my least favorite of this top 4 or 5 pitchers. I'm not saying he's a bad play by any means. He's just in a really difficult matchup going up against Boston. Now, we saw Cease, you know, he was striking out a lot of Boston guys at the start of the game last night, but then Boston got to him and just exploded. So it's really more the matchup than anything. I mean, he's been pitching fairly well. You know, he's going to get his strikeouts, but he can't have his blow-up games. I mean, 700 runs against the Cubs, that's rough. I do think he is going to be able to bounce back here, but still. White Sox, they're going to the playoffs. I don't think they're going to really make Lynn do too much here. So he's probably my least favorite of the top 5. Webb, this guy is on fire. He is pitching lights out lately. He's got a great matchup going up against this week Cubs team. Just scrolling down, it is just 20 DK points or more. It seems every single game in the past month and a half here. So Webb is doing really well. He might be my favorite pitcher of these guys just from a cash floor play, but he's also getting the strikeouts. He's got the strikeout upside. He's not walking anybody. He's going deep into games and efficiently as well. 7 innings, and he hasn't hit 100 pitches in either of them. So Webb, given the matchup, given everything, I think he might be one of my favorite pitchers on this slate today. Nola, kind of the same deal. He's got that upside. He's got the strikeout upside, and you can kind of lump Gray in there as well. Nola and Gray, very similar, both in below average. No, I would say they're facing below average offenses in Colorado and St. Louis. So I think they're both in fine plays. I like both of them more than Lynn as well. So really, I'm not saying Lynn's a fade again. You really can't go wrong with either of these top 5 pitchers. But I think Webb might be my favorite. Lynn might be my least favorite, and the other 3 kind of right in there. Scrolling on down, Eric Lauer going up against Cleveland. Cleveland got no hit for the 4th time this season. I'm not even sure how that's possible, but it happened. So Lauer, you know, he's in nice form. We saw what he did against Philly last week, so he is certainly in play at only 8.5K. SKUBAL's been doing pretty well. He's in a tough matchup, but his strikeouts are up. You can see he's got 6+ Ks in 4 of his past 5 games. He's allowed 2 or fewer runs in 5 of his past 6 games. So now he's going up against Tampa Bay, and I prefer left-handed pitching against Tampa Bay just because I feel like Tampa Bay does really well against right-handed pitching. And they're more of an average offense when it comes to left-handed pitching. So SKUBAL, if you want to be a little bit different, because there's going to be a lot of people going on the guy below him, Max Fried. And there's probably going to be a lot more people going up to Lauer. So SKUBAL, I think could be a great GPP pivot for you. Max Fried, 8K, it's just too cheap for him. It's a perfect matchup for him. Just put him in your lineups for cash builds. He's clearly a top option. There's probably going to be a lot of popular Freed Webb or Freed McCullers, Freed Gray Nola lines going throughout the head-to-heads and the double-ups this afternoon. So love Freed. Perfect spot for him. Then, after that, there's no real absolute have-to-haves. Ober's fine. Kansas City, they're weak offense, so pretty much anybody going against them, that's fine. He did get, he was a pitching opener his last time out, so he didn't go deep in the game that we wanted him to. So it doesn't look like that's happening here. I think he's going back to being a full starter, so you can probably put him back to the 70-80 pitch mark. And by doing that, you can kind of see his floor does go up, and he's in a solid matchup against Kansas City. Hap, I have no interest in because I like the Cincinnati bats. Hap just gets kind of tossed around. He allows a lot of hits. He can allow some earned runs as well. I don't have much interest for Hap, especially going up against those Cincinnati right-handed bats. Kind of going down through here, going against Pittsburgh, Corbin maybe. Over from Cabrera, no. There was a lot of hype for this guy. I won't say a lot of hype for this guy, but there was a couple slates ago. We were really interested in him. He had great numbers coming up into the league, and he just hasn't put it together. Tough matchup against Atlanta. If you're making 150 lineups and you want to throw him in there, go for it. But yeah, I went past. Patino going up against Detroit. Sorry, I missed that one. You could be going after this guy as well. 7.5K, pretty cheap. He's gotten a price drop going up against Detroit. He's fine as well. So there's lots of pitching options on this slate. Webb, McCullers, Nola, Gray, Lynn, Freed. He's going to be like the chalky standout. Put him in your lines. Lauer, he's in a great spot. Patino, SKUBAL for a GPP pivot. Corbin, nice matchup, and so on. So there's lots of pitching options that you can go to. So let's look ahead towards the bats. Top bats, once again, for the 9 millionth slate in a row. It's Toronto, just with how good they have been. And we were right yesterday. We said, let's play them in a 7-inning game just because of their price discount. It worked well. So the 9-inning game here, they finally got their prices back up. So it's going to be a little bit tougher to fit in. But if you're just throwing in Max Fried as your starting pitcher and pairing him with everything else, you can fit Toronto in very easily. I cannot find Fried. There he is. So if you throw in Fried, we'll just say we'll throw in Lauer as well. Maybe, we're not going to go all the way up to the top. I think Toronto probably won't allow you to do that. But if you then throw in like Vlad, Springer, Teoscar, who's on fire, you're looking at 3.4K remaining. Maybe Dickerson gets a spot up in the lineup, lefty versus righty. You're still at 3.4K with a solid Toronto main stack and decent pitching. So Toronto clearly number one for you on this slate. If you don't want Toronto and you want to go a little bit, and you don't want Lauer and you want to go up at pitcher, maybe you do want to get in a guy like Webb. Then you can turn towards Milwaukee. Milwaukee, once again, is just priced way too cheap. I don't know when they became cheap. I mean, we do this every single day, and I just don't know when it happened. But Milwaukee is just far too cheap. They're in a nice spot as well. And you can pretty much lefty, righty, doesn't matter. Going up against Allen, I think they're in a nice spot. But it would be like Escobar, Garcia, Wong, Furious. I mean, just kind of just put guys in. Like, look at how cheap this is. You can go with the two possibly best pitchers on the entire slate, even going up to McCullers, and you're still looking at 4.3 remaining for them. They got a nice implied run total for them today, so I think Milwaukee is going to be in a smash spot, given the opposing pitcher and given their starting salary. I'm not going to say they're outscoring Toronto by any means, or a team like Houston, but given their pricing, Milwaukee is in a great spot. Speaking of Houston, they'll be our team I'm talking about. They're going up against Berea. Berea has just really been struggling. He's been allowing, excuse me, he's been allowing a lot of contacts, been allowing a lot of earned runs. He does not strike anybody out. Houston doesn't strike out. You can kind of see he faced Houston earlier on last month, and he finished with negative DK points. Only made it 3 innings. Did not go well for him. So Houston, absolutely in play. You can kind of be looking at the lefties, but still, Bregman, just far too cheap, 3.9K. He's too cheap. He's going to be a great value play for you. Brantley day-to-day, make sure you're checking out him. But if he is good to go, 4K is a great price for him. Tucker at 5K, Alvarez 5.2, and so on. One thing I don't like about the Houston lefty stacks is that, take up every single outfield spot for you. So that's kind of a bummer, but still, they're priced at a spot that you can fit them in with the top pitchers. So I think those would be like my top 3 favorite plays, like offensively, just Toronto, Houston, and Milwaukee. Turning towards more of like a GPP role, I do have interest in Cincinnati and all of their right-handed bats going up against Happ. Like I said, Happ, he can't allow a lot of hits. So going with like guys like Castellanos, Moustakas just never. He's one of those guys I hate in like playing DFS this season. He's just priced too high for what he always gives you. He just frustrates me so much. So I don't have too much interest in Moustakas, but if he does well for you, great, put him in. But for me, I just can't stomach it. India for sure. He's the guy that you want to be looking at. Scrolling on down, seeing if I missed anybody down there. No, but like Stevenson, Votto, he's just been taking it to another level this season. I don't care that he's a lefty going up against lefty. Cincinnati, I think they're a fine stack, and they're all priced 4K and below. So you can absolutely be putting those guys in. Aquino, if he's starting, you can throw him in as well. He's got real rough numbers on the season, but who knows? Who knows? Nice cheap option for you. Like I said, Happ, he can't allow the hits. So Cincinnati, I think, is a nice GPP play for you. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Minnesota. I think Minnesota's in a nice spot as well. But yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. I don't want to talk too long. I know we're kind of short with video upload, and you guys probably want to get your NFL lines in there, but make sure you're paying attention to MLB as well. So real quick, Webb, Nola, McCullers, Gray, Fried's going to be like your absolute #1 spot on the slate. Lauer going up against Cleveland, who just got no hit for the 4th time again. SKUBAL, I think, is a great GPP pivot, given his strikeout upside and just how he's been pitching lately and the guys around him. As far as the bats, Milwaukee is, again, way too cheap. Houston, Toronto, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Atlanta, Tampa Bay. Those are the teams that you want to be targeting here. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, they're cheap. Leverage stacks, you can go with like Miami, maybe LA as well. So that kind of covers things. Good luck in your contest in MLB. Good luck in your NFL contest today, because I'm sure you're all going to be playing it. So good luck. We'll see you in the next video.